Hello Bookish friends, welcome to my October wrap-up part 1. In this video, I will talk about the 10 works that I finished in the first half of October. Like I did in my previous wrap-ups, I will insert the clips that I've recorded very soon after I finish those works. Today is the 2nd of October and I finished my first book for October, which was a graphic novel that I received from NetGalley. This was my first NetGalley purchase. In this graphic novel, we follow our hero and his 5 friends as they play a role-playing game, sort of like Dungeons and Dragons, but this role-playing game is actually created by Zach and his late brother. So our hero knows all the rules actually. However, when Zach decides to include an artifact that he found in a shopping site in one of his archaeological digs, things turn a very different turn, and a portal opens up in which our gang can travel through alternate dimensions. This graphic novel was actually much better than I expected to be. It was actually full of action, which is something that I really do not like in books. However, I think the graphic novel format worked really well with action scenes. I also thought all of the members of the gang were defined so differently and were quite three-dimensional, which is, I think, not easy to do in a graphic novel. Lastly, but most importantly, I really liked how the drawing style fitted with the story. Black and white ink looked great with all of the fantastical things that are happening in this book. If I was into role-playing games, maybe I would have liked this graphic novel much better. However, I still gave Dragon Garage by James Turner a 7 out of 10. Today is the 4th of October and I finished the second book of the month, which was a carryover from September actually. The second book in House Moving Castle series by Diana Wynne Jones, Castle in the Air. In this book, we follow the adventures of Abdullah, who's a carpet merchant. One day he buys a carpet that is magic and travels. This carpet takes her to the girl of his dreams, Flower in the Night. And when Flower in the Night is captured by bandits, with the help of magic carpet, a soldier who becomes his companion, and with a genie in a magic bottle, he tries to find the flower in the night. He encounters many magic things during his journey to rescue Flower in the Night. I quite like this middle grade fantasy book. I have no idea why it is rated so low in Goodreads. Especially the beginning and the ending of the book was quite humorous, and I had so much fun reading this loose retelling of Aladdin's magic lantern, and I really like how this story connected so well with the first book in the series. In the last third of the book, there were minor details about fat phobia, but it could be a content warning for those of you who want to read it. The writing was very good. However, the story dragged a bit in the middle, so I gave Castle in the Air by Diana Wynne Jones a 7 out of 10. Today is the 5th of October and I finished 2 works today. The first book that I finished was a book that I was reading for more than a month actually, which was The Paradine Case by Robert Smith Hichens. I was reading this book for books of Alfred Hitchcock project. And by finishing this book, I will finally be able to do the second books of Alfred Hitchcock special video. In this book, we follow a lawyer, Malcolm Keene, who is appointed to defend Mrs. Paradine, who is accused of killing her blind husband, Colonel Paradine. Keene tries to find out what happened, if his client murdered her husband, or was it an assisted suicide, or somebody else killed Colonel Paradine. He becomes more and more obsessed with Mrs. Paradine. During this process, we follow how his feelings towards his wife changes from a very loving husband to almost seeing her as an enemy. Malcolm finds himself in a very trying situation, who's certainly in love with his client, but at the same time not sure if she is innocent or not. The reason that it took so long to read this book was because especially the first third of the book was very slow moving, and although the subject matter was interesting, especially considering the psychology of the lawyer who becomes more and more obsessed with his client, the same events were told so many times. I felt like I was reading a script of the soap opera. I mean, the events were intriguing and gossipy for sure. However, there were so many flashbacks, especially in the first half of the book. I felt like I didn't progress in the book at all. However, after 60%, when we come to the actual court case scenes, the book almost changed completely. All of the things that we know about the characters played so heavily into increasing our excitement of what will happen in the court and how the characters would react to the testimony of the witnesses. The first half was certainly 6 out of 10, and the second half was 8 out of 10. As an average, I gave The Paradine Case by Robert Smith Hichens a 7 out of 10. The second work that I finished today was a short story that I was reading for victober. The Black Bag Left on a Doorstep by Catherine Louisa Perkins. This short story featured one of the first women detectives in literature, Loveday Brooke. In this short story, in which we meet Loveday Brooke, she tries to discover the link between a robbery that happened at a Christmas ball in a mansion with a black bag left on a doorstep of a quite poor woman. I also gave this short story 7 out of 10. I thought the writing was quite good, and I really enjoyed how the characters was introduced in this first story. The ability of the detective was not as over the top and as mysterious as the great Sherlock Holmes. I will read more mysteries featuring her. Hello, Bookish friends. Today is the 7th. I finished The Hidden Staircase by Carolyn Keene today. I'm reading this book for the Nancy Drew Read-Along, hosted by Mitzi Reads and Writes. We have a Boxer group in which we chat about books, the nostalgia of old mysteries, cozy mysteries, and anything vintage actually. In this second book, Nancy tries to discover the truth behind many unusual things that seem supernatural happening, belonging to two sisters which we met in the previous mystery. First of all, I thought the mystery was quite exciting. It was actually on the border of mystery and thriller. There were some parts which made me shiver when I think this is happening to a 16-year-old girl actually. I was very anxious for her. And while rereading this series, I can really understand why these books kept me hooked when I was a teenager. because it brings excitement and action to the life of a teenager. Even as an adult, I wanted to keep reading on and on, and was curious how the mystery would be solved. Like I said for my review of the first book, I think when giving the title, they were not concerned about being spoilery at all. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed reading this mystery, and I gave The Hidden Staircase by Carolyn Keene an 8 out of 10. Today is the 9th of October, and I finished the book that I was reading for Christmas, which was The Endless Night by Agatha Christie. This book was one of the later works of Agatha Christie, and it was a standalone mystery. In this book, we follow Mike, who one day sees a land and a ruined house called Gypsy's Egg. He suddenly has a dream of living there his life with the girl of his dreams. When he meets Ellie, a very rich girl, very different from his economic status, he realizes that he has the means and the motivation to follow his dream. When they decide to marry, he's afraid that both the relatives of Ellie, who will oppose to the marriage, and the curse on the house done by the gypsies will prevent him from achieving his dream or not. I quite liked this book. It was a very decent mystery for me. The main characters were fully developed and had quite complex characteristics. And I also really loved the gothic atmosphere of the book. The twist at the end was not shocking, but it was done quite well, so that we were surprised at some of the details that we hadn't thought of before. It was much better than other later works written by Agatha Christie in terms of tempo and excitement level. So I gave Endless Night by Agatha Christie an 8 out of 10. Today is the 11th of October, and I finished a book late last evening, which was a romance ebook called Waking Up in Vegas by Romy, Sommer. In this book, Phoenix one day wakes up and finds herself being married to a stranger that she does not remember at all meeting. Because she had mixed some of her prescription drugs with alcohol. And although she feels very attracted to this man Max, she finds it very unbelievable that Max claims that they had fallen in love and decided to spend their rest of their lives together. When Max practically begs her to give their marriage at least a chance of 1 week, Phoenix, because she feels very attracted to this man, to spend her days as best as she can, and also prove Max that their marriage would not work because they come from very different backgrounds. Reading the synopsis of the book, I was expecting much more from this romance. Although the beginning few chapters were very interesting, and we were trying to find out why this amnesia thing happened. And also trying to learn about our main characters. However, the story got more and more uninteresting as we progressed in the book. And furthermore, the ending of the book had one of the romantic gestures that I actually really do dislike. And after my experience in reading Crazy Rich Asians trilogy and this book, I think I discovered something about myself. I really do not like when one of the characters in a romance book is extremely wealthy or royal and keeps it as a secret. This was a very mediocre and a quite disappointing romance book for me. So I gave Waking Up in Vegas by Romy Sommer a 6 out of 10. But I'm glad that I read this ebook and will finally be able to unsubscribe a book application that I'm currently not using by reading this last book on my library. Today is the 13th of October and I finished 2 books today. The first book that I finished was the book that I borrowed from the library, which was a book on my list of books to do Turkish short videos, titled Haberci Çocuk Cinayetleri. The English title is Messenger Boy Murders by Perihan Mağden. In this book we follow an unnamed narrator who comes to the city that his mother lives in after traveling for a while. One day, the owner of the used bookstore that he frequently goes talks about the murders of the messenger boys, and the owner asks the narrator to investigate the truth behind these murders. I have to say this book was one of the weirdest books that I have ever read. There were so many absurd characters involved in the story, and even the genre of the story was not very clear to me. Sometimes it was fantasy, sometimes it was science fiction. The overall theme seems like a mystery, so I decided to include this book in the genre of general fiction. Another weird thing was that I understood the story in all of this weirdness. And I quite enjoyed the writing style of Perihan Mağden. I really do like her storytelling ability. I will try to do a more dedicated Turkish short video about this book. It will be hard, but I will do my best. And overall I gave Haberci Çocuk Cinayetleri by Perihan Mağden a 7 out of 10. Second book that I finished yesterday was the book that I was bud reading with Amiyat Zobek for 5 days, which was the second book at Love at Stake series by Carolyn Sparks, which was titled Vamps and the City. In this very fun urban fantasy book, we follow Darcy, who has very recently been turned into a vampire, and when she was trying to prevent a murder of a young girl, she is employed in producing a reality show in the Vampire channel called The Sexiest Man on Earth. She decides to take a risk and include some mortal contestants in the production, and she becomes infatuated with one of the mortals, Adam. However, Adam is not what he says he is. He is actually a part of a task force who's employed to find out about the vampires and then eventually kill them. I was kind of surprised at how much I liked the first book. It was hilarious and I had lots of fun reading that book. And at the beginning of the book, I thought this book was not as good as the first one. Although I really liked the character of Darcy, the book was not as funny, and additionally the male character was not very complex. However, when the reality show scenes started, the book became much funnier, and also the relationship between Darcy and Austen became much more meaningful. I actually like the ending of the book more than the first book. And really loved the character of Darcy. But because the first half of the book was mediocre, I also gave Vamps in the City by Carolyn Sparks a 7 out of 10. Today is the 14th of October and I finished the second work that I was reading for victober, which was Candida by George Bernard Shaw. In this play, we follow a married couple. The husband is a very successful priest and a quite famous orator. and he considers himself happily married and really loves his wife Candida. However, when a very young man claims that he is in love with Candida, he questions himself as an husband and whether he considered Candida's love for himself as a guarantee. And when Candida says that the young man Eugene's love is flattering her, he feels really jealous. I read this book as a recommendation of Katie at Books and Things when she talked about the books that we can read for the new woman prompt. This book was certainly a praise of women and importance and the strength of women in the society that Shaw lived in. However, because it was written by a man, it certainly had a very male-centric point of view. The admiration of Candida became a relationship with her support for her husband. And some of the values were a bit outdated, of course. However, I thought it was a really good satiric play. And I gave Candida by George Bernard Shaw a 7 out of 10. So those were all the words that I've read in the first half of October. Please comment down below, have you read any of the books that I've mentioned in this video? And what did you think of them? And if you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose hidden. Hidden means gizli in Turkish, and gizli is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.